Yeah, baby. Peace to you and everybody out there. It is the realm of SM. Yeah. What's going on, people? It is the great Doc P, dedicated on creating the poetry. You know it's me. You can flow with me. It is SM Enlightenment Radio in full effect, SM Enlightenment TV in full effect. And hey, I got a real special guest, all right, that I got to introduce to you. It's a star that needs absolutely no introduction, a music veteran for 20 years. Okay, hey, she was a teenage rock star, signed to Columbia at the age of 17. She's worked with the likes of Billy Joel and Soul Asylum, 5 Emmy nominations, 1 win for her work on ABC's One Life to Live. Her music is in Dawson's Creek. It's been on HBO. It's been on Lifetime. I mean, it's countless credits here. Countless credits. And plus, one of my good friends and just an overall beautiful person. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michal Towber. So what's going on, baby? We got the new record, all right? No Resolution. And it is absolutely fabulous, baby. I'm digging every track of this. Tell me about the songwriting process for something like this. First of all, how long did it take you to write this new album? Okay, all right. And also, tell me what's different about No Resolution from your past studio albums, because this is your 8th. So what's different about this project than from the others?
No Resolution took about a year to write. I started writing about 3.5 years ago, and I was going through a very difficult period personally, and the album just basically started to write itself, in the sense that I hadn't been writing for a while, and all of a sudden I wrote fantasy. And then I basically was writing at least a song a week, and they were just coming out of me. It wasn't something that I had to force. It wasn't intentional. It was actually quite the opposite. And it was kind of this like pressure valve release. I was feeling like I needed to get these things out on paper. And it basically chronicles everything that was happening to me personally during that time period. And I wrote about 100 songs over the course of a year. And then these 15 were the ones that I felt told the narrative the best of what was happening to me. And I tried to write in a very direct and candid way, rather than hiding behind metaphors, which I've kind of done more in the past. So this record is very autobiographical, and it's quite an emotional journey. It was very cathartic and helpful for me to write it, and necessary, I would say.
So Michal, tell me, in what ways do you have to operate differently as an artist as opposed to the way that you did 20 years ago when you first started? Like, what's the main thing that's different right now? And do you like it better now, or do you like it better the way that it was when, it was big record companies, or do you like it better doing it independently?
I started making records. My first record, Sky with Stars, came out in 2000. And so I was 20. And now it's 2018 and I am 38. Had to think for a second. I'm like, how old am I? So I've been making records for over 18 years, but I really started writing when I was 17. So for over 20 years. And in that time, obviously, the way that records are made has changed tremendously. You used to have to rent a huge studio, and the bar of entry was much higher, both in terms of the knowledge that you had to have to make a record and how much money you needed. And now, I made Magic Hat with my 2 collaborators for like $2,000 in an apartment in Chinatown in 2 weeks. So things have changed so much. And in that sense, it's really refreshing, and it's allowed a lot more people to get in at the ground level. And then the other way that making records has changed for me is when I got signed to Columbia, I figured that was it, that they were going to take care of all of the other parts of the business side of the music business. I just had to make art, which is what I'm very comfortable with. And I was very happy to delegate that to somebody else. But at the same time, it was like a black box, and I didn't really understand what went into radio and marketing and publicity and all these other different aspects of my career. And that was very infantilizing. So now I've been forced to learn about all these different aspects of being an artist. And even though it's been difficult for me, I think it's very empowering. And I know that I have my best interest at heart. I don't have any ulterior motives. I'm not thinking about other clients. I can focus entirely on myself. And so knowing that I have those skill sets now is a really good feeling.
So, Michal, there's one question that I do have. The title of the record is No Resolution. Why No Resolution?
The record is called No Resolution because I feel like I am still struggling with a lot of questions. Existential questions, wondering what I am doing with my life. And I've struggled with anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember. I had a flare-up of an eating disorder these past few years. I have a lot of regrets. I feel like I've made a lot of mistakes. And I think all of those feelings are part of the universal human experience, hopefully. I don't feel like anybody has it totally figured out. And oftentimes to this day, I'm very terrified and don't really know what I am doing. And so I don't want to pretend like everything is worked out in my life, even though it might seem like I've had some successes and I've accomplished things. And that's not to say that I'm not appreciative of the things that I have in my life, of course. I mean, I have 3 beautiful children, and that's wonderful, and I find a lot of joy in a lot of things, but I still have a lot of questions. So that's what this record was about. That's why I made it, to kind of deal with some of those issues, and it's an ongoing process. I'm a disaster.
So listening to your music, I hear influences of like sort of like a goth, maybe industrial. There's some classical there. There's some blues that's there. I mean, what would you call, if you had to put your music into a genre label, like how would you describe the music that you do, baby?
I always struggle to put a label on the genre of my music or to have like an elevator pitch. But one term that I came up with to describe it is alternative torch. And it's basically moody piano ballads and guitar-driven rock songs.
Now, Michal, I know this record is somewhat of a collaboration with another artist, AR. Tell us a little bit about that whole working relationship, the way that all came together, and the way that it functions.
The working relationship of making this record was basically 3 people. It was me and Kazim Zaidi, who's the producer and engineer, and AR, who is my best friend and advisor. And Kazim is a 23-year-old kid. Why did I say kid? That's so derogatory. He's a young man who just recently graduated from Rutgers, incredibly talented, has played every single instrument since he was a little kid, and is just really, really knowledgeable, technologically speaking, and he did all of the engineering and production on the record. I found him through Facebook. And I started going out to his parents' house in Freehold, and he had a setup in the basement there. He had, just started recording, and I think I was like the first real record that he made. And we just started experimenting, and I told him exactly what I wanted. I came in for the first demo, which was for Fantasy, I believe, which was the first song that I wrote also for this record. And I had some references of songs that I wanted to draw from in terms of inspiration, and he was just very, very open. And his aesthetic is much more like pop and psychedelic rock than mine, and he's got an amazing voice, but like almost like the Bee Gees or something. And my aesthetic is much more grungy and alternative and industrial. So it definitely was a stretch for him aesthetically, sonically, but he was very, very open to experimenting. And I think we established very early on a great working relationship. And even though we have kind of polar opposite backgrounds and personalities in a way, he's Muslim, he's Indian, and I'm Jewish, even though I'm really culturally Jewish. And he has like a very positive, sunny outlook on everything, and I'm kind of doom and gloom. Although I found recently that I'm more optimistic than maybe I think I am. But we just got along famously right from the get-go, and he was just a really, really great guy to work with, and very, very creative and very in it for making a great piece of art. And then AR is my friend who I was pen pals with for 14 years. And we had met through a mutual friend, Robin Fink from 9 Inch Nails. And you know, we had always just like exchanged emails and had similar senses of humor and really gotten along. And then at a certain point, he sent me these amazing guitar demos that he'd done. And I was like, oh my God, like I had no idea that you were so talented. And turns out he went to school for classical and jazz saxophone and taught himself to play the guitar. And he'd written these like amazing Baroque compositions that ended up being on the record, Bittersweet and Secret Song. And we ended up collaborating and writing a bunch of stuff for the record. He came out and played on the record, and he really was an advisor overall for the record because I didn't have a manager, I didn't have a band, I didn't have anybody that I was really talking to about the creative side of things. And so he really helped me to hone the demos and to make creative decisions. And he has a similar aesthetic to me. So we were a little bit more on the same page in terms of our musical influences than maybe me and Kaz were. And, you know, now that the record has wrapped, we've actually continued writing together and we've played a bunch of shows. We now perform as a duo. And we've written a lot of collaborations, which will be on the next record. So it's been a very interesting work relationship between the three of us. And I'm really excited to collaborate, which is something that I've never really done in a consistent way before. I've always wanted to, but I just never found a band that I really vibed with.
Well, my favorite joint on here is Affirmation Chant. And I want you to tell us a little bit about that one.
Affirmation Chant is a song that I wrote on the piano, and I started with the chord progression, which I think is very Nine Inch Nailsy in terms of just the progression and the accompaniment. And then I think I was listening to like Tuvan throat singing at the time, and I started doing that drone in the beginning and just like playing around with shifting my resonance around. And then when I got to the lyrics, it just became this mantra, this like really positive mantra. And I think that, it's definitely the most positive song on the record. All the other ones are really depressing. But I think that even though I've like suffered, and, you know, I hate to say that because it's hard to quantify suffering, and I don't think that I've like had a particularly terrible life or anything like that, but internally I definitely have suffered. And this became just like a pep talk to myself and just a reminder that I am very resilient and I am very strong and capable of dealing with adversity.
That's right, baby. It's No Resolution. It's Michal Towber. Tell them where they can find it. How can they get it? How can they get a copy of it? Let them know, baby.
No Resolution is available for digital download on all major platforms. So iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, wherever you can find music. And I made a very limited run of physical copies. If you want one of those, you can DM me through any of my social media. On YouTube, I'm Michal Towber YouTube. On Instagram, I'm Michal Towber Insta. Facebook and Twitter are just Michal Towber. So I'm very easy to find. You can just reach out to me and get one. And I autograph all physical copies. We took amazing photographs with Lee Matney for the Linda Matney Fine Art Gallery in Williamsburg, Virginia. And those are photographs of me and AR. And there's actually some photographs included in the CD artwork that are not released anywhere else. And we really wanted to do something special and dramatic and vibey, and I think we really succeeded. Lee is an incredibly talented photographer. So definitely reach out if you want one. And AR designed the CD artwork, and it's really, really nice. So I would love for you to have a copy.
Yeah. Well, check it out. I'd like to thank my sister, Michal Towber, for sitting down with me and answering a couple of questions. Be sure that you pick up that album. Once again, it is No Resolutions. It is Sky with Stars music. Get it wherever you buy your music online. Thank you so much. And be sure that you check out Michal's music on SM Enlightenment Radio, SM Enlightenment Media, SMEnlightenmentmedia.com, smcrew.com, and all that. I am the Great Doc P. Check me out on Facebook at the Great Doc P, on Instagram and Twitter as well. This has been an SM production. Thank you so much for checking it out. And Michal, thank you so much. And thank you for the great music. And hey, keep on rocking, sister. Peace and blessings.